What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Pitchside with Parker to day 2 of my Euro 2021 group by group previews, and today we're doing Group B. That includes Belgium, Denmark, Russia, and Finland. For each team, we're going to look at their squad, potential lineups, history at the Euros, predictions, and anything you could really want to know. You can jump ahead if you want to using the timestamps on the video to whichever team you want to look at, but I recommend you stay around for the whole video. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the post notifications as well so that you don't miss a single one of my Euro previews. They will be coming out every single day leading up to the tournament starting on June 11th, group by group, layer by layer, team by team. You don't want to miss it. And go ahead and smash the like button before we even get started with the video, because that's what we do on this channel. But with all that said, let's get started. So we start by taking a look at the map of Group B. The two host cities are Copenhagen and St. Petersburg, and this one makes me happy. This is one of the few groups that logically, geographically, actually makes a lot of sense. All Northern European countries, two Northern European host cities, and although it would be better if Belgium were allowed to have a host as the top seed in the group, I still do like the way that this one is lined up. St. Petersburg is going to be allowed 50% fan capacity, and I think that Russia versus Finland game should be very tasty on the final day of the group stage. But let's get into the team-by-team previews, and we'll start with the favorites, Belgium. So out of all the main favorites for the Euros, Belgium absolutely got the best draw, far and away. I mean, you look at France and Portugal, they're in each other's group alongside Germany. You look at England, they got a pretty tough group. So really, if you're considering the draw, Belgium are easily the favorites. It feels like a team that we've been saying for the past few tournaments that this was going to be the last run for their golden generation. And yet, a lot of those guys are still around. And also, they're able to produce youth talent to come up and help bolster the squad as well. And so once again, we're looking at a Belgian team that is overflowing with talent, especially in the attack. And as I said, I think they will be one of the main favorites for the Euros. They certainly are for me. People seem to forget that Belgium was the best team at the 2018 World Cup. They just got unlucky because they had to play France in the semifinal. They lose on a set piece, but they were the better team in that game. Lloris did an absolute madness to keep them out. And honestly, I think they had a great chance to win that World Cup. So I expect them to show that quality again, and it all starts in the group stage. So looking at the squad, I mean, just look at the lineup that's on the screen. Lukaku, De Bruyne, Mertens, and that's not to mention Eden Hazard and Yannick Carrasco on the bench. I mean, the attack is the stuff of nightmares. Like, God forbid you would ever have to defend against this team. They got a top 3 striker in the world. They got one of the 3 best midfielders in the world. Both De Bruyne and Lukaku, in my humble opinion, should both be candidates for the Ballon d'Or this year. And if they have a great Euro tournament, I think they could see themselves as frontrunners. Of course, somebody named Leo Messi will have something to say about that, but that's another conversation for another day. Another very important player will be Yuri Tielemans, who is coming off of a fantastic season for Leicester City, including that belter that won them the FA Cup over Chelsea. And another name to keep an eye on that is not in this lineup on the screen is Jeremy Doku. He's a young winger, a very skillful player, and somebody who's been kind of waiting to make his mark behind obviously a lot of good players. But Roberto Martinez seems to like him, played him quite a bit in their Nations League and World Cup qualifiers. And so I would expect him to be an impact sub for this Belgium team at the Euros. The area of concern, as it always seems to be with Belgium, is the back line. They love that 3-4-3 formation, which feels like it's mostly just in place to get as many of those attackers on the field as possible. But the weakness, therefore, obviously, is the defense. You've got a back 3 of Vertonghen, Denayer, and Alderweireld, who are not the quickest. Certainly, Vertonghen and Alderweireld are aging and past their primes. And at times, they also suffer from a lack of help from those fullbacks, those wide players that in most 3-at-the-back formations are usually wingbacks. But for Belgium, they're generally more attacking players. Meunier is kind of a right back, but even he can struggle defensively at times. So it can leave the defense exposed, especially against better teams and teams with good wingers. It also puts a lot of pressure on whichever one of the center midfielders is the more defensive player. It could be Witsel, it could be Den Donker, but they end up having a lot of work to do in this formation as well because Tielemans is not the most defensive player, but he will definitely be in the team. So all that is to say that Belgium should absolutely be favorites for the Euros. To me, it's between them and France as the main favorites for this tournament, but France will have a lot more obstacles than Belgium do in the group stage. And for that reason, I would put Belgium towards the top. I expect them to pretty easily finish first in this group. And if you watched my Euro 2021 overview video, you will have seen that I chose Lukaku as my Golden Boot winner. I'm going to stick with that, and I think he's going to absolutely dominate. And he will certainly guide this team into the knockouts and probably pretty deep into those knockouts. Up next, we have Denmark. Denmark is a team that definitely knows how to make the most of what it has. I wouldn't say they have the most talented roster out there, especially for teams that finished as well as they did in qualifying. They really squeezed the most out of what they had, but that is an immense compliment to Kasper Hjulmand and what he does with this Danish team. They went undefeated in their Nations League qualifying, but that did include 4 draws. So this is very much a team that knows how to grind out results, but they are very hard to beat. And as one of the host nations for this group, with their games being played in Copenhagen, they get Belgium in Copenhagen as well. They're going to be a very challenging team to overcome. The strongest areas of this team are the midfield and the center backs. When you look at their midfield 3 with Delaney, Højbjerg, and Eriksen, it's pretty much got everything you need in a midfield. I mean, Højbjerg and Delaney can be very good defensively, but they also have quality on the ball. Eriksen, of course, is an unbelievable creator. He can score goals from the midfield. He's got the set pieces on lock. I mean, they've really got it all in that midfield area. And then the center back pairing is very strong as well. Kjær has been captain of this team for several years. Rock at the back playing for AC Milan as well. And of course, Andreas Christensen just won the Champions League with Chelsea, in which he was forced on as an injury replacement in the first half, played remarkably, and they shut out Manchester City. So he is coming off the heels of a great season for Chelsea, and he should be a great partner to Kjær in the back. Their fullbacks are both players that play out of position. Mila is more of a right back than a left back, and Voss is actually a center mid by trade. But the advantage of both these players is that they do provide a lot going forward. And that's important because when you look at the front 3, Denmark pretty much just throws 3 strikers out there every game. I mean, you see Poulsen and Braithwaite regularly play on the wings where they are really center forwards. They're kind of big hold-up center forwards as well. And then you got another one through the middle, like Dolberg or Vind coming off the bench. I mean, they have a ton of striker options. They don't have a lot of wingers, so this is how they play. And what it means is that the drawback of this team is that a lot of times they do lack width, especially if those fullbacks can't get forward. They're not super creative outside of Eriksen, and they're not really able to create chances for themselves sometimes. So it can be a bit of a stagnant team offensively, but at the same time, it makes them very good from set piece opportunities. As I mentioned, Eriksen, great on a dead ball. They've got plenty of height to aim at between those guys plus their center backs. And they can definitely be dangerous on the counter as well. I mean, a simple long ball, a flick in behind, and they can be scoring before you know it. And once they go up in a game, they don't often give up a lead. So ultimately, you kind of know what you're going to get from this Denmark team, but they do it quite effectively. So to me, that is a recipe for them finishing second in this group. I think they will be able to handle Russia and Finland. And you never know, they could even get a result against Belgium being able to play in Copenhagen. And all the things that make them difficult to beat obviously enhance their possibilities in the knockout stages as well. So this is a team I could see winning 1 or 2 games in the knockouts. And if they do finish second place, they are not a team that one of those first place finishers is going to want to see in that first knockout game. As we move forward, I've got good news and I've got bad news about this Russia team. The good news is that they've got the same manager and they've got a lot of the same players as the team that performed the miraculous run into the knockouts and won their group back in 2018. But the bad news is that the circumstances are entirely different. They're in a tougher group than they were in the World Cup. Their players are not in the same form. And although they will get those games in St. Petersburg, they aren't the host country of the entire tournament. So I'm not exactly expecting a repeat of 2018. When you look up and down the squad, I mean, you're probably not going to recognize a whole lot of these names unless you remember them from that World Cup team a few years ago. Most of them played domestically in Russia, and so if you're anything like me, you probably haven't seen a lot of them play. But they do have some stalwarts who have been in and around this Russian national team for a long time. Guys like Yuri Zhirkov, Mario Fernandez, the 2 fullbacks, and of course, Juba up top is an absolute handful for any defenders. He can be a match winner at any given time for Russia. The only players that are playing right now in top 5 leagues are Cheryshev, Golovin, and Miranchuk. But even looking at those players, none of them, I would say, are in as good a form as they were in 2018 when they all got moves to those teams after the nice World Cup run. Golovin is the best out of the 3, and I would expect that if anything good is to happen for this Russian team, especially in the attack, it will go through him and probably Zhuba. So the verdict on Russia is that I really have no idea what to expect from this team, honestly. I think that based on the rest of this group and where I think they will finish, they're going to be right on that bubble for the 3rd place teams as to which ones will make it into the knockout and which ones will not. Only 2 of the 3rd place finishers don't make it in, so they've got a decent chance, but I think all eyes will be on their final group game, which is in St. Petersburg at home against Finland. And that will be a game that will be the only one really that they're favored in the group stage, and they're going to need to win that one and probably win by multiple goals in order to get their ranking a little higher among those 3rd place teams. If that happens, they could advance to the knockouts. However, I also wouldn't be that surprised if they didn't, or even if they finished 4th in this group. Really, who knows? Lastly, we've got Finland. Now, Finland are making their Euro debuts, which is very exciting. They finished 2nd in their Nations League group, and they finished ahead of teams like Greece and Bosnia, who have much better records in, these major tournaments than Finland does. So that's pretty impressive. And, it does harken back a little bit to the last time that a Northern European country made its debut in the Euros. We got that magical run from Iceland in 2016. So, hopefully the Finns can recreate some of that this summer, and that's kind of the narrative that I think everybody is hoping for. In terms of the squad, they're definitely not full of world beaters. This is going to be a team that probably plays 5 at the back, and everything pretty much goes through Pukki. When they win, it's a Pukki party, as we've seen at Norwich at club level. He's a very good striker. And when you pair him with a very good center midfielder with Glenn Kamara from Rangers and a quality goalkeeper in Lucas Hradecky, who plays for Leverkusen in the Bundesliga. In my opinion, if you could only pick 3 positions to build an underdog team around with the best chance to win games, you need a good goalkeeper to keep you in games. You need a striker who can score at any time. And you need a good spine in that midfield. And they've at least got those 3 pieces. Everything else around it, a little bit questionable. But they're going to have a fighting chance in any games with those players. At least I think so. Here's the thing. Finland is playing with house money here. It's their first Euro appearance. They got some of the best kits in the entire tournament. So honestly, even if nothing else happens, that's still a win in my book. Up the Finns. So that's going to be all for this Group B preview. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Turn on those post notifications because we've got more team-by-team previews coming the next couple of days. It'll be Group C tomorrow, and of course, if you missed Group A or you missed the general preview, definitely check those out as well. Thanks for watching this. Leave those comments below. Let me know what your prediction is for Group B and how it will finish, and I will catch y'all in the next video. Peace.